Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to our Monday night MCU 11 Mickey 11, uh, our Marvel rewatch of all the MCU movies. We're rewatching and ranking all the movies. We're past the halfway point, and tonight we're talking Thor Ragnarok with Chad and Rory. It's our third Thor movie, which is always a fun thing to say. Uh, just real quick before we
Our
get started,
Ford.
Thord movie. That's the Thor one.
Mm.
That was a low key pun.
Oh, yeah. Before we get started, where do you guys rank this as Thor movies go? Of the three Thor movies
I
before we
mean,
get our real rankings.
it's clearly the worst of the Thors just because it doesn't have any Natalie Portman.
That's true. It always loses a point for that.
Um, no, this is the best Thor movie by a long shot. I would say this movie is the second best Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Before we started doing this re-ranking, I absolutely would have said like hands down best Thor movie,
Yeah.
no competition. Uh, Going back and rewatching everything, where everything's a lot fresher in my mind. It's
Mhm.
like this is a real good Thor movie, but I enjoyed the first one a lot.
I was thinking the same thing.
I can't understand that. Like I respect that you feel that way. It's not that I don't understand the reasons that you're telling me. It's
Mhm.
just that I can't feel that way and I don't understand how anybody can. Like
Yeah, no, that's a very understandable thing. Like women have told me that for my entire life. But yeah, it's like people like what they like, and
Mm,
for some reason, I apparently really enjoyed Kenneth Branagh's Thor, and I love Taika Waititi's Thor,
yeah.
but it, this is the second best Thor movie, and probably going to be the third best soon, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. Let's see, I haven't even looked at the trailer for Love and Thunder.
I'm refusing to watch it because I get too excited.
Mm.
But
Hmm.
I think I mentioned it a while ago. I accidentally saw the toy line on
Uh,
the internet, and
Hmm.
like that alone was enough to make me be like, oh. So
I just want to see how jacked Natalie Portman got.
it's gonna be fun.
Because like you can tell in the trailer, it's like, oh yeah, no, she's a little bit more muscular now, but I don't know exactly how jacked she is.
She's
Like, is she
still
like fitness model or like
right.
professional wrestler?
It'd be awesome. Because she's still like 4'11" or something. So it doesn't take much to put on a lot of muscle when it's only that much muscle.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Cool. So to recap, we're gonna recap the plot. So just to remind everybody what happens in the movie. Tonight we're gonna do it. We're each gonna take turns doing it, but we'll have to switch who's talking every time you blink or have to take a breath. One or both.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's
Wait,
the order?
is it one or the other, or or are we
You get one of
calling which
each.
one?
I don't know. What do you guys think? Do we have
I
to keep
think
track of both?
as much as you can get out in one breath.
One breath. Okay, we'll do one
Yeah.
breath tonight.
Yeah, the breathing thing feels simpler than the blinking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's either you're going to be watching this or like some ASMR shit where we're.
Just breathe right in the microphone.
What does ASMR stand for? Do either of you
Uh,
guys happen to know?
Audio stimulated
mm,
something stimulus.
something.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. That wasn't a trivia thing. It
Right.
was like yeah, I don't actually know. I just know that
Right.
it's supposed to be good ear noises.
Yeah. And it's not a sexual thing. I know that. And
I
that's what I
mean,
keep
It can
telling
be.
everyone.
ASMR is like only fans of porn.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be, but we all know.
Right.
Everything can be a sexually thing if you're hard enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those
Not
things
the
I guess.
first Thor for
Mhm.
me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like one of those things, like a Maxim magazine or something, where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to beat off to this, but it does remind me that I should probably go beat off to.
When I moved a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
I found a box of Maxims in my closet. It was like the original American run for like the first like 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I was just like, man, uh, I haven't jerked off looking at these, but I've jerked off thinking about them a lot.
It's just like 2 years of almost porn in a
Yeah.
box. That's what does it for me.
Yeah.
Which might explain why you guys like Thor, is
Mhm.
because that does feel like a lot of almost porn shoved into a box.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we'll talk about Thor's arms later.
oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, veiny. We can see it right there. Okay, let's get to this plot recap so we can talk about the movie.
Okay.
I'll go first. Deep breath.
Wait, who goes second? So
Chad, we'll just go around the circle.
okay.
Okay.
Cool.
I didn't know if our circles were different. So.
Oh,
I think that they're all it's an upside down triangle where you're at the bottom, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I didn't know if that was just this website or like life in general.
Everything just flows downward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a shitty pyramid scheme.
Mhm.
All right, here we go. So the movie starts with Thor, and he's in a cage, being trapped by a fire demon voiced by Clancy Brown, who's telling him all about how he's going to cause Ragnarok. And he's spinning around in a circle. That's all.
So the fire demon is actually named Surtur, and he
Mhm.
is the guy who is going to cause Ragnarok, which is the fall of Asgard. And Thor went down into Surtur's kingdom, which not Jotunheim. Jotunheim is the land of the ice giants. Is it
Mm.
Niflheim? I'm not 100% sure. But he went to wherever Surtur is in order to try and stop Ragnarok, and he actually got caught on purpose in order to get, I guess, an audience before Surtur, because he
One
as
breath, Chad.
yeah, I still have a little bit left. I haven't breathed in yet. Trust me.
Muspelheim. Muspelheim.
Well, fuck. Now I just used it all up.
I knew that one, David. That was going to be where I started.
No.
He finds out that Ragnarok can happen because Odin's not at home, which is news to Thor. So he heads home and finds that Odin is supposedly there, and it turns out it's Loki watching a play.
And in that play, Matt Damon is playing Loki, and I found out from the credits that Sam Neill is playing Odin, and Chris Hemsworth's other brother, not the other one we're thinking of, but the other brother was playing Thor in that. And then he also unmasks Loki pretending to be Odin. Yeah.
And when he finds out that that is actually Loki, he forces Loki to tell him where Odin is, and he goes down to Earth, where he runs into Doctor Strange, and he's like, "Oh, Earth has wizards now." And Doctor Strange keeps teleporting him around the mansion and gives him a mug, I guess, of
Yeah.
infinite beer.
Yeah.
So he gets to keep drinking while Doctor Strange is explaining everything, and Doctor Strange knows exactly where Odin is and sends them there.
Everything is saved, except not really, because Odin's super depressed because his wife died and he died. And then it turns out that Loki has a sister, and she is the goddess of death. And she is great, can make knives out of thin air. And she breaks Mjolnir and sends Loki and Thor off the Rainbow Bridge and starts conquering Asgard.
Yeah, she kills Warriors 3, but not Sif. She's not anywhere around to be seen. Then the Loki and Thor end up on a trash planet, and there's really cool looking scavengers. I think I took a breath somewhere in the middle there.
So on the planet with all the trash scavengers, Thor ends up getting captured by Scrapper 142, who is actually revealed later in the story to be from Asgard herself, but we'll get to that later.
Thor also runs into Loki and the Grand Master and becomes one of the contestants in the Tournament of Champions, which is basically just a big circle where Thor gets, or no, it's not Thor, Hulk kills people for fun. Turns out Thor's been on this. Oh.
Thor's been on this planet just for a few hours, it seems like, but Loki's been there 4 months, and Hulk's been there for a couple of years, killing people. And also, there's a rock monster and a bug with knife hands. Whew. I don't know with my breath.
So Thor actually ends up having to get into the fight with Hulk, and he just tells everyone, "Hey, I work with him. He's my friend." And Hulk's like, "Yeah, we're not friends, buddy." And then he just pounds the crap out of Thor.
But it turns out that Thor totally ripped off Raiden's special effects, gets glowy eyes, and starts fighting back to Hulk. In true superhero fashion, they decide to be frenemies and live together. There they get Valkyrie to help them escape, kinda help, not really help, but they do help.
And back on Asgard, there's a rebellion happening, a resistance, and part of that is just like the one fighter. What's his face? You know what I'm talking about. Heimdall. He's helping people.
Heimdall is helping with the resistance, and he also reaches out across the galaxy to help Thor and tell Thor where he is. And Thor finds out both through talking to Valkyrie and through talking to Heimdall that in order to get back to Asgard, he needs to travel through the Devil's Anus.
Which sounds like fun. When they escape, which of course they're going to do, they also bring Loki and steal a ship, but Loki betrays them because he's Loki. They get away, and Loki takes over the rebellion and follows after.
And then they have to fight Hela and her army of zombies and her giant wolf, and Hulk or Banner has to turn into Hulk, even though he doesn't really want to, but he has to do the right thing and fight a giant wolf as the Hulk. And then also Thor realizes that he didn't need his hammer in the first place, but I guess we didn't really need to know that. I don't know, we'll figure it out. That's my breath.
The entire time that Hela was trying to take over Asgard, she actually had a second in command who was Scourge, also called the Executioner. And eventually, once everyone starts fleeing Asgard, he realizes that he needs to help Asgardians, and he decides to take out his two M16s, Des and Troy, and use them to fight off the army of the dead.
And he's pretty much successful and wins the day. They get all of the people on the ship. The ship takes off, and Loki, Thor, and Valkyrie manage to free Sutor with the eternal flame and his head. He goes as big as a mountain. Turns out he wasn't lying about that. And he destroys Asgard. Hela presumably dies trying to stop him.
And then the movie ends with them all of Asgard on the ship, and then they're gonna go to Earth. But then we find out in the mid-credits scene that they're not even gonna make it to Earth. So the whole movie was for nothing because everyone gets killed by Thanos. Yeah.
Asgard is a people, not a place.
Yes.
That's it.
Boom. That's the whole movie.
Yay!
Yay. Cool. So yeah, what are your initial thoughts? We already talked initial thoughts.
Yeah. So I feel like when I watched this one the second time, because before I want to say that this one was, like I said earlier, right in with Guardians of the Galaxy for me. Like up next, like there was the Avengers, Spider-Man, and then the rest of the movies, and like Civil War was probably my favorite, and then came the Guardians of the Galaxies. And I feel like now this one, like falls right in between Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy 1, where there was definitely a bunch of it that I really enjoyed, but I feel like the humor lost a little bit because I already heard it the one time.
Right. Yeah.
One of the biggest things for the movie for me is that in the same way that I talked about the first Thor being a love letter to Jack Kirby, and everyone had their proper Kirby hats and everything. This movie continues to pay tribute to Kirby, but it also pays tribute to Walt Simonson's run on Thor as well, because that was when Surtur and Ragnarok and a lot of that other stuff really got pulled into the Thor books, and there's w- the whole reason why Scourge the Executioner is in the movie
Mm.
was to have him make that heroic sacrifice at the end, which is one of the most poignant moments of the Walt Simonson run, is when he holds off the legions of the dead at Galabru, uh, when Thor has
Mm.
to pull out all of the unfairly killed Earthlings and Asgardians that were taken unfairly to Hellas Kingdom.
Let's go in the comics, is he bad guy the whole time and then has that turn, or is he
Yeah,
a good dude?
Scourge,
Okay.
Scourge started out as a bad guy and continued to be bad the entire run. He never showed any kind of signs of ever being a good character.
Mm.
And then at the end, once he went to go and help out the Asgardians, and he went down to hell with everyone else. Like when he decided to make the sacrifice play, he actually knocked out Thor because Thor was planning on doing the sacrifice play himself.
Mm.
And then he's like, nah, let me do this. Everyone's made fun of me my whole life. I've been a loser and no one likes me. So why not just let me die and have Thor actually go ahead and keep being the awesome hero that he
Yeah.
is?
Well, that's cool.
Which I feel like is also just a really good message for losers who get made
Mhm.
fun of. Is, sacrifice yourself so the cool guy can go on being cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Go down
Yeah,
the blaze
cool
of glory
guys
with
need
two
you to
machine
die
guns.
for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nice to see comics reflecting real life and
Yeah.
giving a good message.
Right. So I think I pointed this out before in the last Thor movie, where the bad guys had guns and were just laser guns and were blowing away all the Asgardian army. But he does the same thing here. What's it called? The zombie army has all swords and shields and stuff, and he just has regular human guns, and he's just killing the shit out of them. So
Not regular.
guns
Those
beat
those
swords.
things are definitely unlimited ammo.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah,
There's no
you never see
enchantment
him
on the
reload them.
magazines. Yeah.
uh, I mean, I feel like my I feel like it was more apparent when I'm watching them now, all in order, and I don't have any. I don't have any like ability to be like, oh, maybe I just don't remember exactly what happened in the previous movie.
Mm.
Um, but I feel like it's a lot more apparent in these movies than even necessarily it is in the comics. Um, how much Asgard doesn't make sense, and
Right.
without that context of why Asgard is what it is and what it means to the rest of the universe, like losing there's just such low stakes
Right.
for it. Because like even the whole thing of like Thor being like, "Oh, I'm fighting for home," which should be enough for anything.
Yeah.
We never see him at home.
Right.
Like he's always just like showing up before being like, "Can I go play on Earth again?" um, so like it doesn't seem like it seemed like Sokovia was a much bigger deal than Asgard,
Right.
which is by all accounts, some kind of planet or realm
Yeah.
planet. So like,
Well, it's not a planet or a place. It's a people. That's what we learned.
right.
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 But we don't know anything about those people other than the 3 or 4 people that are in charge.
And even then, like some of those people, like that we do know there, aren't Asgardian,
Right.
as far as I can tell.
Mm.
And like almost literally half the people, over half of the people that we know from Asgard are
That's
dead
true.
now.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just, and like in the comics, like it's a, like I have a little bit of ability to jump in on Thor comics just because like I know a lot about the root mythology that they're
Mm.
pulling from. But even then, like at the same time, I'm kind of like this. I don't know what part you're pulling from to make this. So then, when I'm when I'm watching the movie, it becomes a lot more apparent that it's like, oh, nobody knows this. Like the entire MCU is dark on this.
They're just making it up as they're going along.
Right. Yeah. It's weird because this movie, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of funny stuff that happens, but the parts that kind of drag and don't really work well is like when they're trying to do character stuff and story things that are a lot, and a lot of it ends up, you can see it's sort of like setting up for the next movie, for you know Infinity War and Endgame and stuff, where it's like, okay, we have this whole movie about saving the people of Asgard, and then the last thing you see is them about to get massacred. Thanos shows up because that's what we had to see at the beginning of the next movie, or 2 movies from now, or whatever it is. And so it's like that, and then the stuff like when Thor and Loki, they have like their moment in the elevator. It feels weird. It's like they just have to say this thing about them and their eternal struggle or whatever, but it doesn't really apply to anything that's happening in the movie. It's like Taika Waititi is having a lot of fun doing cool, fun stuff in space, and then he has to put the story and the character stuff in there because he has to for the next movie and everything. But those are the parts where the movie kind of slows down and it doesn't make sense. Like, oh, here's the theme of the movie of the Asgardians, or it's a people, not a place, and all that stuff. But you don't really see anything in the movie that makes you think that. It's just to justify the end of it.
There's a lot
Mhm.
of there's a lot of things in the movie where it's like it doesn't feel fully earned. Like
Mm.
it feels partially earned, but I would I would say like maybe the reason why a lot of those emotional beats that feel sort of shoehorned in, the only reason why they feel earned at all is because of the amount of affection that we have for all of the actors
Mm.
involved.
Right.
Yeah.
But like the characters did nothing to like set up these moments,
Mm.
and they do feel kind of out of nowhere in a lot of these cases. Like you mentioned the elevator scene, and
Right.
there's the bit where they're talking to each other about like their relationship and everything. But what's funny is they segue into discussing what they're going to do next, and
Mm.
the argument about the get help thing,
Right.
and that feels like an organic discussion between the
Mm.
two of them.
Right.
And I feel like it also says a lot about like how it's not necessarily all one-sided in terms of like their sibling problems,
Right.
and like it suggests a lot more that is being demonstrated and not directly stated
Yeah.
than the actual conversation where they just have to directly state things about the relationship to each
Right.
other.
And I think that's one thing that this movie did do a really good job on, is through even some of the comedic moments, um, you got a really good feel for like how Thor interacts with other people.
Mhm.
Like, and I feel like that was a little bit like it was almost a backstep in his character arc,
Mm.
because like he directly lies to Hulk about and Banner independently about which one he likes more.
Right.
Um, but like the side comments of like which one of them's stronger, the playful banter that they have with each other, and also the insults they start hurling at one another. Those to me are like incidentally really building up that character of like, oh, Thor's still really fucking vain, isn't he? Like
Right.
he cannot handle that there might be someone stronger than him. Like he doesn't.
Right.
So I thought that the movie did that well, but it was like they demonstrated what he was like, but they didn't demonstrate an actual change.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Like this movie to me felt kind of like a cinematic version of like She's All That, where like for all of the other
Which was a
Thor
movie.
movies, they've been
Right, yeah.
kind of like these dorky things that fans might like, but not everybody would like. And this movie seemed like it had the nice dress, the nice special effects,
Right.
sexy makeup on to be like, see,
The new
it's
hair.
cool to like Thor,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
But
Thor
like,
comes down the steps to Sixpence None the Richer.
exactly. And the difference is like I felt like I feel like yeah, this one's definitely hotter than the other three, but I didn't really like. I don't like the substance of
Mhm.
who he is as a character.
Right.
I like the way Chris Hemsworth plays him, and I think he's a fun addition to another group.
Right.
But like, I don't want to actually just hang out with Thor.
Mhm.
Like, I would
Yeah.
much rather just hang out with the Hulk than
Right.
just hang out with Thor.
Yeah. And Hulk's very funny in this movie, and he's got very strong Drax energy, especially when they're talking about calling him baby arms and everything.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like one of the big moments for Thor in this movie is when he realizes at the end that he doesn't need Mjolnir to have his lightning powers. He can just do it. It's inside of him. But like, I didn't know that was a problem during the movie. Like he was kicking everyone's ass without it. So it was like, oh, that's right, that's a thing. That's his Dumbo's feather or whatever. But like,
Right.
he wasn't having any real problems. I guess he wasn't shooting lightning at people, but he was still throwing them over the horizon. So what does it matter?
But he was only throwing like the little guys over the
That's
horizon.
true. Yeah. But he was punching him and Hulk were punching each other in the face, and he was fine.
Which is like this kind of goes back to my. I feel like I just need to cop to the fact that my problem with the Thor movies might also be my problem with the Thor comics. Is that they are not very good at explaining or putting a like understandable gauge for like where Asgardians fall in general. Like
Right.
I know that Thor is different than other Asgardians in the fact that he is a god and not every Asgardian is a god. But I don't know, like, is your normal Asgardian Captain America strong, or is your normal Asgardian like just a buff dude strong?
Right.
A lot of them live for thousands of years, but they seem to die like over and over again in these movies, which it doesn't make like none of it makes like
Right.
they haven't grounded that part of it so that
they're not clear with the rules.
Yeah.
What it is. Yeah.
So like when they break Mjolnir, like the only reason I care is because I've read the mythology and I'm like, I love Mjolnir. It's its own character.
Right.
But I don't know what that means for Thor. Like
Right.
I don't know any of that. And as much fun as I think it is to play with mythology, if you're going to bring it into something other than mythology, I feel like you have to explain where it connects better. And there's like ways to do that. They just haven't. And that's the it's kind of like the like Doctor Strange magic things where it's like it wasn't until later on in I want to say it was Endgame where we suddenly started seeing other people using magic that weren't doing it from like a mystic point of view, but just from a they're actually talking about like, oh yeah, we're using alternate dimension energy to do this.
Right.
But that was enough to ground it. Where it's like, oh, now I
Mm.
see how Doctor Strange can hang out here. He's called a wizard, but he's
Right.
really just using super science.
Right. Yeah. Interdimensional.
It's like super science
Whatever.
for dummies. I get
Yeah.
that. Like,
What did you guys think of the scene? Yeah, right before the hammer gets broken, when they go to meet Odin up on the cliffs there in I think it's supposed to be Norway. That felt weird. The scene, because I think originally what I had seen is that originally the scene was supposed to be Loki had sent him to like New York or something where he was just like a crazy homeless man, and they showed up, and then they had the conversation, and then he died. And they like test audiences were like, oh, this guy's death is too much of a bummer. We have to get rid of it. So they did this one instead, but I don't know if it's much better. It felt like it doesn't. Yeah, like when what's his name? When his wife Frigga, when she dies, like it's a whole big thing, and like this, it's just like he's tired and he dies. He's not even that tired. It's not like Yoda tired when Yoda dies. He's just it's time for me to die, so you guys can move on with the movie.
Well, I mean, like the first movie was the one where he's like, tired of my kid yelling at me. I'm gonna go to sleep now.
Yeah, could have just done
Odin's
that.
just exhausted all the time.
well, and like that's
He's
like
the god
that
of
kind of
dads, so of course.
that's kind of where I'm coming from though. Is like, I don't know if Odin's really dead or like because he just burst into dust. Like
Right.
I don't know what that really means. Because I don't know what Odin is. I know Odin goes to sleep sometimes and wakes up and he's better. I assume that there's no other time that he sleeps. He's just like awake for 1,000 years and then drops out like some sort of narcolepsy. But I don't know. Like, yeah, this scene, even if they shot it on screen or like on location, it still seemed like it was CGI, like just the way the colors were and everything. Right. Anthony Hopkins tried to sell it really hard, but there was just, I didn't give a fuck about Odin dying. Like it was just kind of like move it along. And also just like that. I feel like, especially nowadays, there's a huge section of the population that has gone on Ancestry.com and suddenly realized that their family tree looks different than they thought it did.
Right.
And how fucking traumatic that is, even if it's not like directly personal to you, like it's not like your mom, your dad.
Right.
Like, for example, I found out a year or two ago now that I have an aunt that I never knew about.
Wow.
And like that was like jarring. Where it's just like, oh, not only is it jarring because there's like this other chunk of family that I never knew, but also for that decision to be made, like that's something that my family made a decision before I ever existed, but I never knew that they had to deal with that. That explains a lot about how they acted, like all of that kind of shit, right? So finding out that you have a sister 2.5 seconds before she shows up out of nowhere and tries to murder you,
right?
And then it's never like he's not blown away by that, like that.
Yeah, they never really deal with it.
Yeah. Like the closest is when Loki's like, yeah, so now you're kind of going through what I went through. It's some shit, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
But like that would have been
a great in a different movie, so we don't have to see it again.
That would have been a great time for them to bond, where like Loki's like, oh, you weren't just the golden child. Like dad fucked you up, dad fucked me up. Like we make a lot more sense when we realize our dad was an asshole.
Right.
Like, which I think is like a really important thing for like most of us growing up, is when we realize like, oh, a lot of shit is because our parents sucked at something.
Right.
Like, and like seeing them as like valuable human beings is like a big part of us becoming like fully fledged humans.
Right.
And they just completely threw that plot development away. Which I feel like if this had been 20 years ago, I wouldn't have noticed. But since I've talked to people that have gone through that,
Right.
I'm like, there's got to be a lot of people being like, when I found out I had a sister, I was not prepared to go save my home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
Right.
the o- the only way that their sort of very underwhelmed reaction to that makes sense is if Odin was doing this shit on the regular.
All right.
Like he's just like, "Oh, by the way, here's a huge family secret and I'm going to go take a nap now."
Yeah, I'm not gonna deal with it. You guys figure it out.
Like he just drops some stuff at their lap and then just says, "All right, I'm out.
Yeah.
Deal with it."
Which, to be
Cuz
fair, in the comics, that's kind of how he rolls. Like,
yeah. And I mean that like wouldn't you want to mention something about that maybe more than 30 seconds before you die?
Yeah.
Like even if it's like it's only going to be like a 5-minute conversation that you have, you you want to front load
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Unless you're going to be the kind of person who's just like, "Oh, by the way, here's this humongous problem. Gonna die now.
Right.
Peace."
Not only am I gonna die now, but it's the only thing that's keeping this problem from being a problem is me being alive. So once I'm dead, which will be very soon, you're gonna have this huge problem. You have to deal with it, and bye.
and I just want to mention,
Right.
like, I could have said this within the last 6 months to 2 years
Right.
that I
Half a
knew I
million
was
years ago.
dying. Well,
Yeah.
no, I'm saying like
Well,
from
yeah.
the time Loki kicked him out
Right.
to when he broke that spell, where he's like, "Yeah, it took me a while, but I've been living in Norway. I went from an old folks' home to moving to Norway. Like, it would take you and I more than 6 months to figure out how to get from here to New York, let alone from being trapped in an old folks' home where it's like, no, I was under a spell.
Yeah.
I'm actually Odin. Where it's like, okay, well, you're gonna stay here for the
You guys
rest of
thought
your
I
life.
was senile, but no. Actually, I have all of my mental faculties. I am a god, and I need to get to Norway.
So I'm just saying, like, when at that point in time, where he's like, "Yep, I'm stuck on Earth. I've been deposed. I'm definitely dying, and I don't feel like going to sleep because I'm all depressed and stuff."
Yeah.
He could have at least written this down.
You really
Like,
should have.
it's just been like, here is a detailed letter. Someone's going to try to kill you. Keep this safe. Read it, and then you'll understand.
Yeah.
By the way, you don't need your hammer.
Right. Yeah. The real hammer is inside of you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, because I mean, he has defeated her once before. That was the other thing I was thinking about. I was like, he defeated her and locked her away and mummified her giant wolf and everything. So he knows whatever her weakness is, or some way to defeat her. But yeah, he's not going to share any of that information before he dies. And like I said, he's not a great guy, and you can tell because he had a daughter known as the Goddess of Death, and he was totally fine with that for a while until at some point there was too much mass murder. Oh, and there goes Rory. Anytime I say mass murder, he just logs off for some
I don't know. Maybe it reminded him he had something to do.
reason.
But yeah, it's when they start showing the history, like when Hela breaks the ceiling
Right.
of the throne room to tell the secret truth or the secret history of Asgard
Right.
to Scourge the Executioner, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, no, we just rolled around and beat the fuck out of everyone in the galaxy until we were in charge of everything." And then after we got to Nine Realms, all of a sudden Odin's just like, kind of tired of murdering people. Gonna lock you away forever, daughter.
Yeah. You don't need a goddess of death anymore.
I mean, like, the thing about it that irritates me is like, if they explained at any point in time, like, yeah, the previous rulers, the ones that we were like deposing and killing the fuck out of, were like the ice giants,
Yeah.
who were not nice people at all. So, like, yeah, we did go on a murder campaign, but we were murdering mostly bad guys
Yeah.
and the people that worshipped them. Like, those rock faced dudes, you know, they worshiped some ice giants. Like, you know, that's who they were fighting for.
Right.
Hmm.
And if it was like yeah, we deposed their gods and then stopped treating them like shit, and suddenly they became a productive species,
Yeah.
like then I'd be like, oh, okay, so Odin was kind of a monster, but like was a monster for a reason. And then like when he was like, okay, well now everything's cool, let's go back to being like not monsters. And
Right.
then his daughter was like, no, let's kill everyone. Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now it makes sense. But
You don't get any
It
of that.
it seems like a very capricious whim to just be like,
Mhm.
okay, 9 realms, we're good. Time to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had no problem locking her away forever. But like with all the stuff that Loki always gets up to, and the number of times he's tried to kill him and take the throne and stuff, he never thought, hey, maybe I should lock Loki up too. He's not even my actual son. He's this ice giant kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like something.
No,
Something.
I th- I want to say that the movie, like the first time he locked her away,
Hmm.
she escaped. I feel like
Oh.
yeah,
that's what they said
Oh.
in the movie, and that's when he had to send like the entirety of the Valkyries after her.
Hmm.
You know, who she ended up completely slaughtering. So maybe that's why Odin's just maybe that's why he didn't want to lock up Loki, because he was afraid that if he did the same thing to Loki, then Loki would be even worse. The same way
Hmm.
that Hela got worse the first time that he grounded her.
Right. So then he grounded her for eternity, because then she would only become the worst ever, but only when he
Mhm.
which
dies, so it wouldn't be his problem.
which makes you think, like when he was like, Thor, I'm taking your hammer and sending you to Earth, he must have just been like, oh my god, what have I done? Thor's gonna come back and he's gonna have so many guns.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's our only
just like
weakness.
he's just gonna have like a cannon on a stick and just be
That's probably why he put the hammer down there too, because he's
Ah,
just like, if I put the hammer down in front of him, it's like, yes, I grounded you, and I know you're going to be upset, but here's a toy for you to play
yeah.
with.
So keep you occupied.
Hmm.
Oh, and I
which
remember what I was
just for
gonna
all
say.
you parents out there, if you glue one of your children's toys to the floor and then send them to their room, hours of fun.
Nice. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to bring up is that the beginning when he's unmasking Loki, Loki's pretending to be Odin, and Thor comes and almost smashes his head open or whatever. He's like, hey, I come back and all the 9 realms are all fucked up, like because you're not even paying attention to them at all, and that never gets brought up again. The fact that like, yeah, that's a thing that they're responsible for, but I don't think they're ever going to deal with. It's another thing that gets mentioned, and it should be a big deal to them because it's like that's part of his responsibility as king of the Asgardians. But yeah, that's not something that Thor worries about after that.
I'm
Well,
wondering if that's what Lo- Thor 4 is going to be
Okay, I
about.
can see that.
um, I'm hoping.
Yeah,
Um, like really, I just want somebody to like create a canon for what Asgardians are and what
right,
they do and why we
mm,
should care about them.
right.
Um, just at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, like the other people that are victims, like were given either reasons to care about them, or were told after the fact why we should have cared about them. Like New Yorkers, uh, you know, we kind of already do care about them a little
yeah,
bit. Like there's a built-in thing. The Sokovians, we didn't care about them, but afterwards we realized, oh, we should have cared.
right.
The Asgardians were literally never given a reason. Like the whole thing about, oh yeah, the 9 realms are in chaos because you're neglecting your duties. That's like the first time that they really mentioned that they're in charge of like the administration or the peacekeeping or something
Right.
to do with the other 9 realms or the other 8.
well, and also like one of those realms in the first movie, Thor just showed up and murdered the fuck out of a bunch of
Yeah.
people. That's one of the realms. The other realm that we see is Muspelheim, and there's one dude.
Yeah,
Like,
and he's stuck there, and then he ripped his face off or whatever.
so like
Yeah.
he just doesn't seem like, and like I think that's the thing is like Sokovia, like we didn't care about it as like it didn't matter because we didn't know about it until they started blowing it up. But
Right.
at the same time, like when things started blowing up, you were seeing people that were on their way to work, were shopping. So like you could at least recognize like, oh, this is like a city. Anybody blowing up a city is bad.
Right.
Same thing with like the Hulk going across South Africa, where it's like, even though I don't know anybody from South Africa, I haven't heard about them in the news. Like it's not one of the places that I'm like, oh, in the entire world, I care about South Africa a little bit extra.
Right.
When he started dropping buildings, I was like, oh, that's civilians. That's not good. So like, but in Asgard, like, you just see people standing around looking at royalty, and then when they have to run away, I'm like, well, fuck you. Like, tell you what, get yourself some sneakers, get yourself a gun, and then I'll start worrying about whether or not your planet gets destroyed. It's not even a planet. It's not a planet.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just kind of a floating city.
Yeah, we're joking around a lot about how these people don't matter, but
Right.
literally, they are props.
Yeah.
There's nothing done to humanize them until like you're like, oh, these people are carrying a child. You
Right.
care
Yeah.
about children, right? That's the most work that's ever done to make us care about the average citizen of Asgard.
Yeah.
Also, that
Because
child is 4,000 years old because Asgardians deal with time weird. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like there's the important people, which is Odin, Thor, and Loki. There's Thor's friends, which is the next lower rank, and
Right.
then everyone else.
You can't even name anyone else. This thing. Like, we never
can't
meet
even name
a commoner.
Thor's friends.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think he ever says them out loud. Any of their names.
like
There's no Heimdall and Scourge.
the one cool guard or Warriors 3 guy, the guy with the Morning Star, when he was like, I'm using my Batman voice. Surrender. And then he busted out the Morning Star. I'm like, dude, even I know that is not going to work. Like,
Yeah.
come on. But I just, and that's like the other thing. It's like, hell, it doesn't matter. Like, when she came back, like, and I do actually want to say that I feel like this might be one of the worst performances I've ever seen out of Kate Blanchett or whatever. Because
She doesn't really do much other than the action scenes, which isn't. She's not even like an action person. Right? It's all CGI. What is she really there to do?
well,
Just,
it's
She
like
gives like
two
a
things.
couple of good monologues.
Yeah.
she does,
Well-
but like she's walking around like, I'm so evil. Look at how evil I am, and I'm like, this is just. You're not even threatening, nor are you particularly humorous about your. Like, at least Loki, when he was gleefully being a bastard, it seemed like he was really enjoying it, but also really doing bad things. And she was just kind of like, I've killed people. That's enough, right?
Yeah.
And I plan on killing more.
Right. Yeah.
I've killed so many people. so many.
Yeah.
Look at these pictures of me killing people.
Made whole murals about it.
I can't disagree that this is not a great showing for Kate Blanchett.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Kate Blanchett's so good that even her phoned in performance in this movie is still pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, I still enjoyed every time she was walking around talking about, I kill people. I'm so evil. Look at me killing. Here I go killing again.
Yeah. So do you guys have any idea how, I don't know, but how old Kate Blanchett is? Because I feel like she's been like a beautiful 40-year-old woman for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like I can't
No,
picture her as
I,
a young person.
That sounds true.
Yeah,
I think she's Asgardian.
that's what it is.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I would agree with you that she seemed like she's been a beautiful 40-year-old woman the entire time that I've known who she was, which
Yeah.
was like
From Fellowship on.
Yeah,
I think I actually knew who she was before then. I don't know why. Maybe it was just
I
out of
know
like
the
magazines
name.
or something.
Yeah, I knew the name. I knew she was an actor, but I couldn't tell you what movies she's been
Yeah.
in before that.
Um,
Anyway, she's 52 currently.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So apparently she was a very dignified looking 30 something.
yeah. I can see that. I can get that energy. So stuff I like about the movie, those murals I thought looked really cool. Like when they had like the moving halos and stuff, and then anytime they did like the slow motion, like big scenes with the Led Zeppelin music, that always looked cool.
yeah.
Yeah, no, the
A lot
Led
of cool
Zeppelin
looking stuff.
music added so much to my
Yeah.
enjoyment of the movie.
I really enjoyed the usage of Thor's power.
Mm.
Like that visualization of like he's still physically doing things, but like once he had started becoming what he was, just it zapping all around him. Like that actually seemed like, oh, Thor is terrifying. Like if you just saw that walking around you, whereas like he's killing everyone, but every now and again he decides to take it personally and punch someone to death. Like
Right.
that was more scary.
Yeah.
Um,
And the
I do have to say Mark Ruffalo's portrayal of Thor in this, like that was really well done.
or is a Hulk?
Like
Yeah.
Thor or
The
Hulk?
banner.
Sorry, Mark Ruffalo being Hulk.
Okay.
Like, so what? Like the CGI. Like I'm assuming the CGI is copying his acting,
Yeah,
right?
I think
Mhm.
he did the mocap for it. Pretty
So
sure.
I mean, just
Well,
otherwise they would like the animators worked well with
Mm.
him to bring his performance to the Hulk, but at no
Yeah.
point in time did I think that the Hulk was not there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If that makes sense, like
Right.
he gave a lot of weight to a CGI character, which is fucking hard to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like you could just see
Speaking
Hulk's butt.
speaking of CGI and weight,
Mm.
I do feel like all of the Hulk action scenes in the movie definitely felt weighty.
Mm.
Like it always seemed like everything he did had like tremendous impact.
Right. Yeah. No, they shot very well with all the trembling, the shaking and stuff. But I love the well, I'm trying to remember how I think you're supposed to say it in Spanish. The Dia del Holco parade. I want to be part of one of those. Maybe. I just want a giant paper mache Hulk head in my house.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I would take one of those big Hulk kite things, like the
Yeah.
ones where they're like holding up the poles and it's just him.
Or with the string, the whatever. What's that called? Ribbons or whatever, hanging down. It's cool.
Um,
Oh, one of the other things that I really liked, I know this sort of goes back to what Rory was talking about earlier with Thor and his character,
Mm.
like the way that he deals with people. Uh, I I really like the fact that it felt more realistic in terms of what a person who was a prince, like
Mm.
a truly godlike prince, worshipped and treated as if he was to be king for his entire life, would kind of act like every time something sort of threatened or challenged him. Uh, he sort of got all imperious about it, and if he realized that uh, he wasn't able to do it, then he was like, oh, maybe bargain or ask for lenience or something,
Mm.
because that was exactly how he reacted to Stanley's barber.
Right. That's right.
Was he was like, "Do you know who I am? Do you know what I can do to you?" And then when he realized he couldn't get out, he's like, "Oh God, please don't hurt me."
Although I do have to say, that was one of the lines that like yanked me out of it for a minute. Is when he was like, "Oh God," I was like, "What God is
Yeah. I
Thor
didn't think about
asking for
that.
help?" Like he knows them by
Yeah.
name. Uh,
He should have been like, "Oh, Dad."
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, so I mean, that's just a scripting thing where it's like,
Right.
Mhm.
oh, but it's the problem with dealing with gods in your script is you got to
Right.
watch that. Um, so,
Yeah.
um,
Well,
and
the
I was just going to say that kind of going off of what Chad was saying. That's one of the things that I do enjoy about Odin and Thor's relationship in the comics. Is there's frequently when Thor's like, "We're gonna kick this guy's ass," and Odin's like, "This is something that's way beyond us. Shut the fuck up. Like you need to shut the fuck up right now. We cannot beat this."
Right.
Like so, like those moments in time where like Odin, the all powerful, is actually like, nope, uh, that's Galactus. We
Right.
cannot fight Galactus. He will fuck us up. It's time to pick up Asgard and move. Like those that I felt was missing in this is somebody reminding Thor that there are things that are bigger than them.
Yeah.
Especially with like the Celestials already being brought into it. Like
Yeah. We haven't talked about Space Jeff Goldblum yet.
yeah.
It's fun.
He's fun, but honestly,
Yeah.
like for me, I get diminishing returns every time I watch this
Mm.
movie with
Mhm.
Jeff Goldblum's Grandmaster performance. A lot of other things in the movie, like I'll be like, "Oh man, I really like that semi-understated joke," but Jeff Goldblum is just Jeff Goldbluming it up.
He is. Yeah.
Which, if you're a fan of Jeff Goldblum, it's great, and everyone's at least a little bit of a fan of Jeff Goldblum. I think
Yeah.
it's just I'm only a little bit of a fan.
Right. And you're watching
Well,
it, and this is funny, but it would be funnier if there was like a written joke here instead of whatever it is that he's riffing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
when I think too, like, and like I feel like this movie is weird because like Kate Blanchett, amazing actress.
Mm.
This is one of her worst performances in my opinion. Anthony Hopkins, phenomenal actor. I feel like this is one of his worst acting performances I've seen, at least in recent memory. And I've seen him go on to do better stuff since then, so it's not like he's over the hill or anything. And Jeff Goldblum, I've seen him still be Jeff Goldblum, but really sell a character.
Right.
And in this one, I felt like he was almost like the Grandmaster should be one of the top things in the Marvel universe. Like he's
To the point
older
where
than
we've
the
seen in the
universe.
movies, like he should absolutely be like a top tier guy to
Yeah.
this point in the movies.
Well, it's also like one of the things that, if you're a comic book fan, one of the things that in the MCU shows how badass Thanos is he waltzes into the Collector and yanks something from him. And that shouldn't, like, nobody should be able to do that. So that's kind of like, he punches out the Hulk, not possible. Steals from the Collector, not possible. But this Grandmaster, I'm like, this guy is definitely never going to put the Secret War on. Like that's not something he's ever going to do.
Yeah.
And like it kind of hurts me watching that, and I feel like if Jeff Goldblum was tapping into that energy a little bit of like, yeah, he's having fun, but the moment he stops having fun, no one will have fun ever again.
Right.
That would have felt more.
Yeah. There should be a darkness to that character that we don't really see any of. Like you're never scared of him, even though like he does, disintegrate people or whatever, and has this whole arena thing. He doesn't care about life, but he doesn't seem like I'm worried this guy's gonna snap and do something to me.
Yeah.
That, you would kind of want from that character. It's just a
Well,
fun guy. He doesn't care.
It seems like there's going to be times where, like at the end of it, where he seems almost scared of the people coming up against him.
Right.
It seems like he's some sort of warlord that as soon as he topples a little bit, he'll be able to be destroyed. And in the comics, it's actually no, he can subjugate an entire star system on his own. Like he's just at that extra level. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. Aren't those guys older than the Infinity Stones?
The Elders of the Universe?
Yeah.
I
thought
don't
they
know
were
if they're
from a
older.
previous universe. And the Infinity Stones only pop up once the universe gets created.
That's entirely possible that it's true. Like there's been so much extra added lore to the Infinity Stones just in the last 15 years.
Yeah. I'm gonna look it up real quick just because.
Okay, but yeah, to the best of my knowledge about the Elders of the Universe, they're just ultra powerful beings who tend to specialize in doing one particular thing. It's like each of them are gods with OCD. Like you have the collector who collects things. You have the grandmaster who enjoys playing games, especially games of chance. You have the gardener who likes to grow things, and so on and so forth. There's like a bunch of those. There's the stranger who I don't know what the hell his deal is, but he's another elder.
He's always sitting on his hand. I don't know why, but he's always sitting on his hand. The collector who's like this immortal being has been around for millions of years collecting things. I feel like his collection should be bigger than like my apartment. Because what we see of his collection is just like that one.
How big is your apartment? Because that thing is clearly a gymnasium.
No, but I feel like it's just a couple of tubes in there, right?
No, because they have like an entire shootout in that room.
Oh, okay.
It's got really high ceilings, and I can see your ceiling. It's not that high.
Maybe it's just that room. Maybe that's all it is. It's just one room of his giant thing.
So just to chime in again on the Elders of the Universe is like they're the reason why they all have their one thing is they are supposed to be the ultimate of that thing. And it's almost like they've lived so long that everything in life has just come down to that one thing that is keeping them going. Like the collector collects things, and that's the only reason he exists is to just keep collecting. But yeah, so like they're supposed to have like primordial powers of like the universe existing. Like that's like it's them and Celestials are neck and neck for who's going to be stronger. I think.
I can see how for the movies, I'm not getting too much into that because otherwise, why would we have any other drama to deal with in the universe? We got these immortal, immensely powerful beings, and everything else doesn't matter.
I think in the movies, they really don't want to define the scale of these incredibly powerful beyond your comprehension beings. They just are like, they're more powerful than you can even imagine. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I guess like for me, it would be like I don't really want to see them go into direct conflict or anything, but I could definitely see like when it comes to the collector, somebody mentioning like, oh yeah, we're not going to fuck with him. Odin can't stop him. Like that would be enough if it was like, even if the Grandmaster, like when Thor had showed up, he was like, Thor, this is great. And Loki was like, this is where Odin told us not to go because he couldn't come and get us. Like if they had done something like that to show the scale of what Thor was up against, because when I was watching this movie, I was just like, oh, Thor lost his hammer, but as soon as he gets his self-confidence back and learns the power of friendship, he's going to go save the day. That's just how
Right.
it goes. This guy is just somebody that has a bunch of prisoners with jobs. It's not that
Yeah.
big of a deal.
And the whole thing about like he needs to get his mojo back, like it's not presented as that in the movie. The only reason he doesn't just beat everybody up and leave immediately is because he's got a thing in his neck that shocks him with electricity whenever he
Mhm.
steps out of line, which is weird because that's kind of his power, right? So why is it effective? But I mean, that's the whole thing. So once he gets the thing off, then he's fine again. So we kind of forget that he needs his lightning powers because it doesn't really matter. You were saying earlier. But yeah.
Yeah, if they had showed anything about
Mm,
the Grandmaster being powerful, or like anything other than the button as a way to like subjugate
right.
Thor, it's like we would have been able to understand why he needs to get why he needs to harness the lightning inside, as opposed to just like, all right, yeah, yeah, just go and fly back to Asgard and you're gonna win.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I feel like that was my like it's for me it's all a problem of weight. Like I
Mm,
enjoyed the movie, don't get me wrong. I had a lot of fun with it, but at the same time, like at no point in time did I think that this movie mattered other than
mm,
like I felt like I could have read the end of the movie synopsis of just
mm,
be like, oh, Odin's dead, uh, Asgard's destroyed, um, Thor loses his hammer. Okay, we're good.
Yeah,
I'm ready for
yeah.
this
the next movie.
Right.
this entire movie could have happened in an opening scroll.
Mm,
Yeah,
Like, I don't get me wrong, I enjoyed watching it. Like,
right.
this is still gonna end up as my number 6 movie in the
Mm,
new rankings, but it is very much like this didn't feel like it needed to be a movie.
right. Yeah.
I enjoyed it being a movie, but it didn't need to be.
Yeah. It's just it's a Thor adventure kind of just in the
Hmm.
middle of the series of Thor stuff. Whereas like you think about like Iron Man 3, where like that really feels like the end of a trilogy, the end of like a story happening here. Whereas
Hmm.
this one, it just feels like it's a
It
fun
just feels
adventure.
like another part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I
like
honestly I feel like more stuff happened to Hulk in
Mm,
this movie, like stuff of consequence.
right.
Uh, the things of consequence that happened to Thor is really just, oh, he lost his hammer and an eye.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
like
that's
they were
just
justifying a costume change
right.
for
Yeah.
him, and that's the other thing is like the reason why this felt like such a Hulk movie as opposed to a Thor movie is because this is basically ripping off Planet Hulk
Mm,
Hmm.
in the comics, which I think I think rather than having this be a Thor movie, that would have been a smarter choice of having it be Planet Hulk and Thor is the tag along character. You could have still had functionally the same movie,
right.
but it would have had more weight. Because I guess the going off of what you were saying, David, um, this did feel like a fun adventure, but like if you look at like the Ant-Man movies,
Mm,
those also seem like fun adventures that don't really affect the rest of the universe,
right.
but it seems like it matters more to Ant-Man.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, like even if like you don't care for the movie, it feels like what's happening to Ant-Man matters more to Ant-Man than Thor losing his dad, losing his hammer, and losing his home. Like
Right.
that should be like,
Yeah. Should be.
but it seems more weighty for Ant Man to be home before the FBI shows up.
Hmm.
Um,
Right. Yeah, and that's the other weird thing about this movie is that Thor he spends most of that movie the movie on the trash planet just trying to get out of there, and he doesn't have any knowledge that Hela is basically genocided all the Asgardians except for like a handful of families. Like, he doesn't even know what's going on he knows he has to go back and stop her, but he doesn't even get the weight of it, and he never really deals with that either.
Yeah, even when Heimdall tells him like, "Oh yeah,
Mm,
no, she's taken over." Like it doesn't really sound like, "Oh, and she's murdered so many Asgardians, we only have enough people to fit in a spaceship."
right, yeah. They can fit all in one room at the end.
Like n- none of the stakes feel stakey.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem like it should matter to the rest of the universe that this has happened, because like they keep saying like draws her power from Asgard itself.
Right.
So like if she goes someplace else to attack them, she's
Mm,
going to be weaker. And she's killed off everybody that can have new Asgardians. So
right.
she's just got
Yeah.
the one dead army, and once they die someplace else, she can't just resurrect them.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
then she
kind of
draws her
like a
power from Asgard. And Asgard's not a place, it's a people. It's those people that she keeps killing all of. So really she's hurting herself.
uh, so yeah, like that's just it's one of those things where it's like this movie feels an awful lot like a 12-year-old explaining stuff where it's like
Mm,
this person's like whoa powerful, and then this guy's like whoa powerful, and it's like I don't know what those words mean.
right.
Like we don't have good math on it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, Taika Waititi is a great comedy guy. And I think they were just told him, hey man, you can make the funniest Thor movie you want. And so he just kind of went for that. And then they had to throw in all of those extra story beats and things just to set up for all the other movies.
I think that undersells Taika,
Mm,
and a lot of the good things about the movie is to just say that it's a fun comedy movie, because there's
right.
so many incredible character moments that are
Mm,
scattered throughout the movie. It's just none of them are the moments where the script wanted to be good character moments. Every part where the script wanted it to be an important character beat, we're just like, well, that clunked all the way into this scene.
right.
And all the scenes that do give us good insight on the characters are like these comedy bits, or a lot of them are.
Yeah.
Well, in this movie, I would say it's. I know I've said it's the best of the Thor movies, and I think it's the second best of the um, Guardians movies. But I also feel like it's the least good of the Avengers movies, where the things that like it was on rails because they were trying to fix what had gone wrong in the previous two movies,
Mm,
and make it something that like they had one actor, they had a major actor looking at not re-upping their script, right?
mm,
So they needed to make this fun. They needed to make this something that people would go see and care about. Um, and I think they did that. Like they got me ready to watch Thor: Love and Thunder, um, but at the same time, it just kind of doesn't stack up when you're watching them back to back.
mm,
And that's the big issue I find, is that if I was just watching this like a one off, I'd be like, oh yeah, this was a great movie.
yeah.
But when I just got done watching Spider Man, it's like, oh, this does not come close to how
Yeah.
good
Right.
um, Homecoming was.
I think this movie works well catching it like on TNT. Like on a Saturday where you're just gonna watch 15 minutes of it and then at the next commercial break watch something else. And that works really well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Ragnarok is my second favorite MCU background movie.
oh yeah. It's your first.
Captain Marvel.
Mm,
I'll be right back. Just one second.
Okay, but yeah, Captain Marvel is it's my favorite MCU background movie, because I enjoy most of the movie, and
mm,
uh, it's got a good soundtrack.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So the Guardians movies are also very good
Mm,
background movies.
yeah.
Uh, like I feel like the more important movies actually are crap for background, because it's like I want to watch more of this.
Right. You don't want anything with too much talking.
Hmm. Like I just want to be like doing whatever I'm doing, and then all of a sudden I just hear It's like, oh, time to turn around.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Valkyrie. I want to ask you, Chad, because you know the comics. Valkyrie, is that the name of a character that was named after the group of people that she is a part of? Are all Valkyries named Valkyrie? Is the way.
The main actual Marvel Comics Valkyrie character, Valkyrie, is
Hmm.
Brunhilde the Valkyrie,
Oh, okay.
uh, who is not this character.
Hmm.
This character, what we know of her is that she's the last Valkyrie
Hmm.
because Hela slew all of the rest of the Valkyries.
Right.
Uh, the main Valkyrie from Marvel is a very tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman,
Hmm.
which you would expect with the whole like Norse myth thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I was just wondering, like, if is that this character's name, or do they just keep calling her Valkyrie because she is a Valkyrie, and like they don't bother learning her actual name?
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just because, like, on Asgard, unless you are somebody important, you don't
Oh.
actually have real names.
That's why we couldn't name another
Yeah.
Asgardian. Is because they just don't
Yeah.
have names if they're of the lower class.
Yeah, that's probably the whole reason why the Warriors 3 became
Mm.
friends with Thor. Is like, man, we really would like names.
Yeah, we're close. We have a team name, so that's something. We're just one step away. We gotta befriend the princes.
Hmm.
Which, I mean, it's saying something that Thor knows who individual members of the Avengers are. Because,
Right.
like, at first it was just like, oh, it's me and the Avengers. That's
Right.
you as a. That's all you do, right?
Yeah, you're Avenger one, or you're whatever. He doesn't even give him numbers. He just calls him Avenger.
It
Well, you had like a
Shield
Marine or
Avenger,
something.
Armor Avenger, so
I
on
mean,
and
he
so
was he
forth.
was really trying to sell, like, this Thor and the Avengers a nebulous number of some more, some less.
Yeah,
Like, just
I mean, the number doesn't matter as much as
yeah.
the story, and then there are Avengers, and they're my sidekicks. I really like the joke of him thinking he's the strongest Avenger, but then it's Hulk. That's fine.
Hmm.
The thing that I super liked about that is that the only reason, like, because we know Tony Stark so well at this point, is the
Mm.
only reason he would do that is to piss off Thor.
Yeah.
Like, like from the comics, we know that, like, it's, Hulk or Thor the mightiest Avenger, or
Mhm.
Thor the mighty. Like, we know that's why, like, it's a tagline to a comic.
Right.
Hmm.
Same thing with, like, Captain America, the first Avenger. But in the MCU continuity, it's just Tony Stark being like, "Oh, Thor's gonna get pissed if we call Hulk the strongest."
Yeah.
So,
So does Hulk have a different login from Banner, or do they both just use the same one? So then when Bruce Banner's in there, the ship's calling him the strongest Avenger. It's
I
kind of
don't,
weird.
I don't
It
think
isn't
the
that how
compute.
he got logged in?
I thought it was Hulk. I don't remember.
I don't think Hulk's the strongest Avenger. I want to say it was Banner.
I think you just talked to it and it said, "Hello, strongest Avenger." I think. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
I
I don't
feel
remember who
like
talked
Tony
about it.
Stark probably programmed those things to not do anything that the Hulk actually asked it to do, and just guess what Hulk was trying to do
Hmm.
and say pleasantries. Because,
Yeah,
like, there's no way he made a keyboard for the Hulk.
that's
Like,
true.
he wants him not touching a button. Like, he didn't even make a roof that was good enough for the Hulk.
Yeah. If anything, if the Hulk is the only one in the ship, they should program the ship to come home and sit somewhere safely till you can figure out what to do about him.
Oh.
Last thing I want to talk about is Korg and Meek, which I thought his name was Mick until I saw the subtitles on him. I thought it was just the New Zealand accent for Mick, calling him Meek, but it's actually Meek. M-I-E-K.
Miek.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
in
Buzz Sword
the
Arms.
World War Hulk comics, Meek is actually from a whole race of bug warriors.
Ah.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, Meek actually like is the one that goes like super bloodthirsty and wants to like just keep murdering.
Hmm.
Yeah, because like the Meek from the beginning of World War Hulk versus, or not World War Hulk, but at the beginning of Planet Hulk versus the Meek at the end.
Hmm.
Because the Meek at the end, like he went through some sort of uh, blood sacrifice ritual thing or something that powered him up. And once he got to that superpower level, he was just like, yeah, yeah, no, the murder, kill, get revenge. Uh, Before that, Meek was actually kind of meek, a little bit
Oh,
scared of
the
stuff.
name. Ah.
Yeah.
Which, for those of anybody who hasn't, Planet Hulk is actually a fairly good Hulk run to
Hmm.
like kind of jump in on the character. I generally don't like storylines where it's just like take this character and throw him on a planet,
Right.
um, but I did enjoy that one.
hmm
Makes sense. It's good that you have Hulk do Hulk stuff the whole time, and I have to
It is
worry
also
about it.
probably the best Marvel animated feature,
Mm.
uh, like movie.
Right.
I mean
TV
that's
TV series, they've had better cartoons,
Mm.
but like the Marvel animated movies have not traditionally been very good at all.
Ah.
I was gonna say that's a low bar for those.
Yeah, if you take out the Enter the Spider Verse,
Oh yeah.
it's shoots right up to the top, and there's nothing close.
Right.
I will say that I feel like the that's absolutely correct, but there's not as big a disparity between the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Marvel Animated Universe as there is between the DC Cinematic Universe and the DC Comics, or whatchamacallit, like
Cartoons, animated,
yeah,
live action, both.
the animated, the
Yes.
live action DC is far worse than their
Mm.
animated by a long shot. Their animated stuff is almost up to like Marvel quality, but there's such a huge gap between the two, and like a lot of the Marvel animated stuff isn't good, but it's still hitting comic elements for like the younger crowd.
Right.
hmm
But
Well, yeah, maybe we'll have to figure out when we're gonna. I want to, because I've never seen Planet Hulk, and I would like to do that for the show one day. We'll do
Yeah, it's pretty
that.
fun, and I
Yeah,
think it's on Amazon streaming.
cool.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out there. I think maybe after Endgame,
Mm.
we should like take a little bit of a breather
Yeah.
and watch um, Into the Spider Verse and
Mm.
Planet Hulk as
Yeah.
a palate cleanser
Right.
before we get into, because I feel like there's a huge tone shift after Endgame before
Mhm.
Phase 4 really kicks off.
Right.
Um,
Mm, Far From Home's the end of Phase 3, though.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Well,
But yeah, no, the Phase 4 is a huge tonal shift.
yeah. 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 We'll look at the schedule and figure out what to do. So I would
Yeah.
definitely like to hit that Spider-Man one on 4th of July. So however we had to figure out how to do that. We'll figure it out. Look at it.
Oh, the other thing that we could do is we could take the entire month of June to watch other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then 4th of July, we do both Far From Home and No Way
Oh,
Home.
right.
Okay. And I'm still down to do all the Spider-Man ones. I was just saying,
Right.
as like even if it's just like a bonus episode, that
Right.
might be cool to
Yeah.
do both of those in one bonus episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
We'll figure it out.
yeah.
Anything else before we move on to our rankings?
Oh yeah, I did have one fan theory
Mm.
that I like better than the canon that I think it is. But I think the reason why Hulk left Earth
Mm.
is because the Hulk and Banner both had feelings for Black Widow.
Oh.
And the Hulk, when he realized that she only picked him because she needed him to do stuff, is when he suddenly realized there was no place for the Hulk on planet Earth. That he would only show up to help Black Widow, and then she would send him away to be with the guy that she actually wanted, which is Banner.
Right.
But since Hulk sees them as two different people, just like Banner does, that's my fan canon.
Right. Makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no really other explanation.
Which is why, like, when Hulk hears the message, that's why he has such a strong reaction, and Banner's able to yank control back.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
I just like that better than the Hulk felt bad.
Right.
Although I do have to say that this movie, I think, gave me more understanding of the MCU Hulk and made me like him more as like a character apart from his comics iteration. Like I actually like this Hulk better than I like Hulk from the comics.
The Hulk from the comics, one of the problems is it feels like every 3 to 6 years it's a completely different Hulk.
Yeah. And I feel like we're also just waiting for him to become the villain that we all know that he must be.
Right.
Yeah, it's like everything leads to Maestro or Redneck Hulk, one or the other.
Redneck Hulk.
One of the things that I had wanted to touch upon, but not actually go deep in depth into, because I myself feel kind of like the MCU sometimes, is the sanitization of history and a little bit about the colonization aspects of this movie.
Right.
Both of those are things that you know I actually feel like this movie was willing to actually get into more than most MCU movies when they talk about anything that's kind of political. Uh, but it doesn't get real deep into it. Like it has the themes that again are stronger than most other politics in the MCU, but it's still a relatively light touch.
Yeah. Yeah, we get to see her pull the ceiling down, and you see the truth about it and everything, but then you never see Odin have to deal with it. You never really see, even when they let Asgard burn, it's more because that's the only way to really defeat her is let her have it, more so than it's this place isn't
Any
really
kind of
worth saving.
consequences,
Right.
or
Yeah.
Which just jumping on that, and I'll try to keep this light. Ragnarok in the mythology happens because Odin broke his word for a third time. So the first time is when they're actually building Asgard. He gets a giant to do it, and they bet him that if he can do it within a certain amount of time, he can marry like Frigga or something like that. So they have Loki cheat because the guy is winning, and he changes form and slows the guy down. The second time is it's not a broken word, but it's the other sin of Odin. Is Loki kills somebody that had shape changed into a beaver or something. It's mythology, and Odin offers as a blood price 1 gold coin to cover every inch of the dead child, basically. And only afterwards did he realize, like, oh, I paid for life with money instead of something that would actually like build more life.
Right.
And then the third one is when he sentences Loki to basically be tortured in a cave because he had pissed off Thor for one last time, but he had always said that he would protect Loki, and it's when he revokes his protection that Loki, when he breaks out, causes Ragnarok. But it's it's just kind of like what you were talking about. Is in the actual mythology, the end of the age of gods happens because the gods failed in what they had set out to do, not because of like it was foretold. It was like,
Right.
you'll live in a golden age until such time as your gods fuck it up, and then they have to deal with the consequences. Which is funny that this movie doesn't have any consequences, because that's what Ragnarok is all about.
Right.
Is, as a religion, teaching people that even God has consequences. So that's
Yeah. Because I mean, I like how they have it in like Thor realizes like Ragnarok it's the prophecy, and this actually is going to happen, and it's supposed to happen. This is how we're gonna have the fresh start for Asgard, but it just doesn't feel like it's anything worth doing. It's like, oh, this is how we have to solve the problem of this unkillable goddess of death. So that's how we need it in the movie. So that's how we're gonna do it.
also, I know it's kind of foreshadowing, but he reacted a lot less strongly to his sister wiping out most of his homeworld, and actually destroying his homeworld, or being the reason why he agreed to have it destroyed,
Right.
And the death of his father. All of that had to do with that, he reacted to less strongly than Thanos killing half of what was left,
Right.
and his brother that he didn't always like.
Yeah.
So
I think maybe that by that point, I don't know. It's only been this is like 10 minutes later, I guess, is what the beginning of the next movie. But yeah, maybe at that point he's like really taken on the fact that I'm the king now and I'm responsible for all these people. But like I said, it's only a few minutes later, so I can't really
It could
have
also
sunk in
just
that
be
far.
like
Bad
everything
day.
piled up on
Yeah.
top of each other.
I don't know. I feel like Thor probably does do a lot of character growth in the 10 minutes in between when we see him and when we see him again. Like in that time, there's more character growth than in every other movie that he's in. So now it's just something that like was bothering me in this one. Is like he literally watches his father get snapped, and he's like, "Huh, your fault. Let's deal with this."
Because I think his father turns to dust, and then immediately his long lost sister's throwing spikes at him.
And breaking his hammer.
Yeah, and breaks his hammer. Yeah, he's having a bad week. That guy.
Then he gets stranded on the trash planet.
Yeah.
Electrocuted repeatedly. Gets a forced haircut.
The last thing I want to talk about before we get to our rankings is it was weird that they locked him up in Hulk's bedroom, because I feel like any other time you see like gladiator champions and someone gets locked up in their bedroom in between fights and stuff, that's like for sexual purposes. Like this is your sex prize kind of thing. So I wonder if that's what the deal was there.
That's why Hulk was taking a bath.
Yeah, that's true. He had to wash his big old green butt. Yeah, I think it was also funny that Valkyrie was very surprised that he was there later on. Like the second time she shows up and he like walks out from behind the wall. She's like, "What are you doing here?" It's like, "How did you not know that he was here? He was here last time you were here. And he can't get out." But anyways, yeah. That's all I wanted to say about that. Were you guys rankings? How did you originally have it ranked, and where is it now? Up, down? How'd it go? I forgot where I had it originally.
I had it at my number 4 slot before. It's now number 6. I have it right in between Iron Man 3 and Guardians 2.
Right now, I actually made a partial list right now. Nice. I have this one. Where is it? This one right at the beginning of it would have been probably in the middle of the pack, and I think now it's below Guardians of the Galaxy for me, which I think that Guardians of the Galaxy is it's still probably in the middle right now, but it's going to go down, I feel. It's at the bottom of it's starting to get good
Mm.
of it.
Yeah, I think that's where I felt before. I had it previously at number 8 and still at number 8, which is fun. Funny coincidence, but now I have it between Iron Man and Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah, I think it's at the bottom of the ones that are pretty good. Like I still enjoy it when I'm watching it as long as I don't start thinking about why certain things are happening. I'm having fun.
So wait, you
Funny.
you have this one rated above Spider-Man: Homecoming?
Yeah.
Okay,
Me
we'll
too.
fight later. Oh.
Cool. Yeah, so that's our rankings. Time for a segment called our Tournament of Champions. Is that what it's called? That's what it's called
Okay.
in Jeopardy, Tournament of Champions. So that's what I'm going with.
Contest of Champions is
Contest
what
of Champions.
they called it in this because that was the name of the Grandmaster's game in comics.
Ah,
Are we going to be doing this in the form of a question?
we're gonna do it in the form of as though you guys were transported to the trash planet,
Okay.
Hmm.
and you have to fight some MCU characters, but you get to choose. You get to choose the challenge instead of because you're not gonna be able to fight them hand to hand combat because you'll get destroyed. So you get to choose. You get to
Whoa.
choose.
Whoa.
I've
Like,
seen
if
you
it's-
fight already.
If it's straight hand to hand, I
I've
could
seen your
take out
hand.
Professor X.
Unfortunately, the first one is Thor that you have to fight in the arena, but you get to pick. You get to pick the challenge, and it has to be
Okay.
non-trivia because Earth trivia obviously will be able to beat any of these guys. So
Okay.
you get to challenge them with something that's not trivia or fighting, or you can challenge them with fighting, but it's something that you think you would actually win.
Okay.
When is this Contest of Champions taking place?
Like
Is it
right
post
now?
Endgame?
Say around the time of this movie, right? So like
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, so
in that 10
before.
minutes between him getting on the ship and then when Thanos kills everybody.
Oh, I'm gonna
Okay.
challenge him to some video games.
See, I was just gonna say Tetris. That's gonna
Ooh.
be my thing.
Yeah, because he's someone he doesn't handle losing very well, right?
No.
He's got a bit of a temper. He probably destroy his controller pretty early
Or
in the
paying
match.
attention. Like that's
Right, yeah.
that's, like,
And planning ahead and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so then what would you challenge Thor or no Hulk? The Hulk to Incredible Hulk. These are all characters from this movie.
Twister.
Mister. Ooh, that's a good one. I was thinking
Hmm.
golf. I don't think he could do well at golf.
Maybe shooting pool.
Oh yeah. Anything with the dexterity. Yeah.
I
It was
feel like
It's less about dexterity and more about him just hitting things too hard.
Yeah.
my fear about pool would be anywhere that the ball hits is going to become a pocket.
Yeah. It's definitely putting a hole into it. Oh, these quick. So Hela, how would you defeat Hela in a match of your choice?
Limbo.
I don't know. She's super flexible.
Yeah, but she's got that hat.
Oh yeah, that would knock the thing out. It's a wide hat. I don't feel like it goes that way so much.
I feel like even if
It is
it's like
tall,
if she's
yeah.
like bending all the way over, like it's gonna either be dragging or hitting or knocking
Yeah.
the pole one way or another.
Yeah.
That's my
Definitely
best.
gonna hit
also-
the guys holding the pole.
Yeah.
It's also possible that it'll weigh her down.
Ooh yeah. I think her center of gravity is too much. If she bends all the way back, she's just gonna fall over. It's just gonna
Well, she's got the little
her horns
cape
will get
too.
stuck in the ground, and then her little legs would be kicking up in the air.
Hmm. I can't think of anything better than that, honestly.
Right. Loki, how would you beat Loki?
Oh
in
no,
a,
you know
in a
what?
battle
Water
of,
balloon.
Whoops.
Water balloon fight.
Water balloon fight. You hit her anywhere, she's gonna explode.
Yeah.
But I don't know because she can throw those infinite spikes she has and just
Yeah, but not
pop all
infinite
your
water
balloons.
balloons.
Yeah.
Like we've already established that Thor couldn't like just summon something other than electricity all of a sudden. So
Yeah.
maybe she could have
True.
water-filled spikes, but it's
I
I don't
thinking
feel like
she
those
would
are
use
gonna
her
explode.
spikes to pop all your balloons. Every time you threw a balloon at her, she would pop it with a spike.
Yeah, but the water balloon contest is about who gets more wet. So like, even if she's
Oh.
exploding them, the individual drops are going to hit her.
Right. Unless it's right in your face. But I don't know. We'd have to see. It would be a close match.
I'm giving a secondary option since Limbo was the favorite.
Okay, so next we have Loki. How would you defeat Loki?
Um,
What?
shit. Um,
Coin flips.
Coin flips.
Yeah, because here's the thing: Loki is way smarter than me.
Hmm.
So the thing is, anything that I could do where I would think that I would have an advantage and be able to
Right.
outsmart him, he can probably outsmart me. But if it's just a 50-50 chance, that's the best I'm gonna
Ah.
get. And if I'm able to push it to like a best 2 out of 3 or something like that, uh Loki is definitely the press your luck kind of character.
want to go ahead and say that's
Yeah.
pretty good. I'd just
Yeah.
be afraid of him being able to illusion shift that coin in midair.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna choose.
It's definitely cheating. Whatever you do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
keep
gonna
that in
choose
mind.
the one thing that I know he's not good at,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna challenge him to a playing dead contest because you
Gotta
know
practice,
he's gonna
yeah.
he's gonna do it at first, but then he's gonna pop right back up with like, see
Yeah.
how good I like. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. He would also probably lose the quiet game.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you said that. He's gotta talk.
I feel like we all know though that I would also lose the quiet game, so that's why I didn't choose that one.
So 2 more. Korg. How would you beat a giant rock man?
With paper.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
I mean, he already made the junk and
It's
Pomo
true.
joke in the movie. It's like, I'm a giant rock man, but you don't need to worry about me unless you're scissors.
Yeah, because he brings it up, and then nobody makes the jokes, and yeah, somebody has to.
um, I'm. I mean, I feel like swimming contest is going to be the
Oh
easy one.
yeah, yeah, easy.
But
Yes,
anything along those lines.
yeah. Anything of the water, just sink right at the bottom. So the last one, Grandmaster. How would you defeat the Grandmaster at his own game?
The only way you can tic tac toe,
Hmm.
force him into a game that there can be no winner.
So it's kind of that Doctor Strange thing of just get him stuck in a loop where you have to.
Exactly.
He has to just give up. What about you, Chad? What do you think? Chad freeze?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
I'm
He's
just real
frozen in
good at
thought.
standing still.
Maybe that's what it would be. Standing still game. Freeze tag.
I feel like the quiet game might work on this version of the
Oh
Grandmaster
yeah.
too.
Oh yeah. He loves to hear his own voice.
This one also might be a stretch for me,
Hmm.
but a game of how many stories can you tell without using your hands?
Ooh, yeah, he's a big hand talker. Yeah, those are good strategies to beat these guys if you ever have to pick your own uh the games of the life or death games against these people in the tournament of champions. Before we leave, I do want to shout out the Topaz's assistant. I thought she did a great job. She was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really liked her. Honestly, in my brain, I had kind of replaced her with the uh that one character from Loki.
I haven't watched it
The
yet.
okay. Uh there's another not like heavy set, but a thicker black woman uh
Hmm.
who also plays the heavy. And like for some reason in my head I was just like, oh no, they're exactly the same person. It's like,
Right.
no, those are two completely different people, like
Oh,
not even similar in skin tone.
right. But they're playing kind of
Well,
the same character, right? So
I
it's not.
think I think the one thing that we've established is that Chad doesn't see color, but he definitely sees every pound that a woman has.
I'm not racist, but I'm incredibly shallow.
Yeah, he sees shapes. When he doesn't have his glasses on, he can just kind of tell the general shape of things.
Hmm. How big a blur are you?
Yeah. That's one thing I want to mention, by the way. I learned this week because I watched Mallrats. Is that Jeremy London and Jason London, the actors? They're twins and not the same person. I just thought it was just one actor whose name I couldn't quite get right. You know what I mean? Like I know it's a J name, so if you say Jason or Justin, I'm like, okay, yeah,
I did not know that.
see,
I was
the only
today
one.
years old when I found out that there was 2 London guys that looked exactly the same.
We're making movies in the mid to late '90s, and then nothing.
And TV.
Yeah.
Because I think the one that wasn't in Mallrats was in like Party of Five or something.
Oh, okay. I never watched.
Like he was someone's boyfriend. He wasn't part of the family.
I wasn't one of the 5.
Yeah.
I never actually watched Party of Five, and it wasn't until I was fact-checking a joke while watching The Ghost Whisperer not too long ago that I realized that Jennifer Love Hewitt was also not one of the 5.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's like there's an episode where like her and the girl I thought she played were on the same episode, and I was like, oh, blah blah blah. Wait a minute. Looked it up and was like, oh, whoops.
Yeah. Got a story that I'll tell you guys later. That I don't want to put
it was Jeremy London that was in both Party of Five and Mallrats.
Oh, there you go.
So even though I knew that they were 2 completely different people, I wasn't sure which one was which.
Yeah, they're really good twins. I think is what we're learning.
They're excellent at looking like each other.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That is our show for tonight. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Chad and Rory, for joining me once again to talk MCU movies. Doing Black Panther next week.
Jack London? Is Jack London one of them?
The dad, I think.
Yeah.
Grandpa.
Maybe he's like a great uncle.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if they've seen White Fang and Call of the Wild, except that I think they're the reverse of this. It's the same story, just in reverse, right? It's a wolf that becomes a dog, and a dog that becomes a wolf.
Which one of them is the London?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I'll have to go back to 4th grade, and we'll figure it out.
Inside each of us, there's 2 wolves. There's Jeremy and Jason London.
It might be one wolf. Double check its IMDb. So tonight, to write out, we're just going to watch a deleted scene from Thor Ragnarok with your Grandmaster and Topaz.
Let's stop
we're just
there.
talking about
You know
Topaz.
what? I woke up this morning.
We'll see you all next week to talk about Black Panther. So goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
For now, I'll settle for this sweet little. Who's going to get it first?
Well, I'm just going to turn our screens off.
So, well, you're on the clock. This means go.
Did you not get that? That's the universal sign. Was I not clear?
Oh, for heaven's sakes. What did you make of that? There's so many universal symbols. This is one that's obviously not communicable. What's this?
Dial it down.
That's dial it down. What's this?
Get out.
No.
Smaller.
Okay, here. Ooh.
I'd like dessert.
Here's I'd like dessert. That would be dessert. This would be. I won't do this any longer.
Pay the